committee should, 1, state the quantity and price per kilogram of all consignment of fertilizer imported through the National Cereals and Produce Board from the year 2020 to date. Question number 2, clarify whether National Cereals and Produce Board floated competitive tenders for the supply of fertilizer during the aforementioned period and disclose the companies that applied for the tenders and their respective bid amounts. 3, disclose the names of companies that were awarded the contracts for the supply of fertilizer to National Cereals and Produce Board, indicating the quantities delivered so far compared to contracted amounts. Number 4, provide a breakdown of all payments made by National Cereals and Produce Board to the suppliers of fertilizer and specify the amount received by each company and the outstanding balances. And finally, Honorable Speaker, indicate timelines for the settlement of outstanding balances, if there are any. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Now, Honorable Senators, I will allow comments on those statements for 15 minutes. Senator Cherangei.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I want to thank colleagues who have wrote statement. Let me start with the statement by Senator Katuri.
Senator Funandi.
Yes.
3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sorry, 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, as the presiding officer, you are reverting your own ruling. Anyway, yes, Mr. Speaker, let me say,
it's mine.
Yes, that is interesting. Mr. Speaker, just 2 comments. 1, I want to support the statement by Senator Katuri Murungi on the issue of Public Service Commission. Mr. Speaker, I don't see need why give interns jobs and then you don't absorb them. Yet you have used government resources. So I want to appeal to government and Public Service Commission that most young people who are given internship in public service, they should be reabsorbed, Mr. Speaker, noting that 5.7 unemployment rate in the Republic is still a challenge. And you know our fertility rate, Mr. Speaker, is doing very well. An average woman in this country gets almost 3.2 children to 4 children. So the fertility rate of this country is very critical, Mr. Speaker. Finally, on the issue of fertilizers, I want to support but agree that we need fertilizers in time, Mr. Speaker. Even us who are maize farmers, we did harvest maize, and the price is not very good, Mr. Speaker. They are selling at 2,000 shillings. We want to still to appeal to government to ensure at least we get 4,000 to 5,000 shillings per 50 kg of maize, so that my neighbors like Senator Otsosi Vihiga and Kakamega, where their main stable is Ugali, including Senator Sifuna, can have opportunity, Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Speaker, no, he eats ugali, I'm aware because I saw him over lunch. Mr. Speaker, so we need that pricing so that as we protect farmers, Mr. Speaker, we ensure that they have something to do. Finally, on elections of FKF, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I want to support women should be included, but call upon that people who run for elections in federation should be ex-sportsmen and women. These people of having busybodies to run for this election is very unfortunate. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, quickly I'd like to comment on 2 statements. Let me begin with a statement by Senator Kisang on the issue of fake mobile equipment. It's imperative, Mr. Speaker, that when the committee is investigating on this issue, to be able to really have a comprehensive discussion with the Kenya Bureau of Standards, because we are trying to encourage companies to be able to produce locally. So if we have a lot of fake or substandard equipment, especially telecommunication equipment, which are being sold in the market, it hinders our effort as a country to be able to promote local manufacturing. They're also very dangerous because they don't really use all the standards and safety measures that are required for production of telecommunication equipment. They could be very dangerous to your health. They could just explode. So this is a very good statement, which I hope that it will be taken seriously by the Committee on ICT. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to comment briefly on the issue of femicide. It is very sad that at this age, we are still targeting women. And I think the statement which was read on the killing of a taxi driver in Mombasa, we need to be able to stand firmly and to be able to revisit our regulations when it comes to the issue of safety in public vehicles, Mr. Speaker. Our local taxis ought to have cameras inside, because there's really nothing private that you do inside a taxi. It is just for transportation. And I think it's about time, Mr. Speaker, that we encourage the registration of taxi services. You know, before we used to have the Kenya Taxi Service, before we got all these other new apps that are coming up. So this issue, the only way that we can be able to get away from this belief that this issue of femicide is a systemic gender-based discrimination is for us to put up regulations and laws that protect everyone, regardless of who you are. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a comment on the statement by Senator Siengo in regards to the issue of the killing of Madam Mumbua in Mombasa, who was a driver, taxi driver, Mr. Speaker. Very saddening situation whereby as women we engage in different ways of making income, and then our lives become endangered. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, we had just a recent case of the young lady from, I think, Kiambu, by the name Seth Nyakio, who was also murdered. And I believe it is a high time as a country that we just acknowledge and accept that femicide should be declared national disaster, because this trend is still ongoing, this trend is still not shutting down, and it's very sickening and very saddening. I'm just wondering, when we continue killing women, then men will be left with who to continue with this generation. So it's the high time also there be regulations for safety within these vehicles. We've seen in international taxis where we have cameras and other modes of security so that our people are also able to feel safe. Number two, on the statement for Senator Kisang, Mr. Speaker, as a digital ambassador for ICDL, I advocate for digital literacy. And I want to state that as we continue and acknowledging that at this time we are in a digital space, then if we do not ensure, if our institutions like KEBS, among others, do not ensure that the kind of products that are within our market are to the standards that are required in this country, then we will still be killing and moving backwards instead of, progressing, both from the market perspective, whereby we have standard products for our business people, and at the same time, the end users, who is us, having commodities that have the standard that is required. So that as we continue advocating for digital literacy, you find that also the gadgets that are in place, that are in use, are with the same standards that gives the quality output. Mr. Speaker, in accounting we say garbage in, garbage out. If we have substandard quality of machines, gadgets, the phones, then the output will not be as per what is expected. I've seen young people nowadays investing in good gadgets so that they can be able to do content creation, which is also giving them an income. So these phones, the standard of all these digital gadgets should be up to standard. And I would want KEBS also, as they give their report, to be able to bring to light how many...
Senator Faki Munyihaji.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia taarifa mbili. Moja ya kifo cha dada Victoria Mumbua ambaye alikuwa na dereva wa taxi kule Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, kifo hichi kilisikitisha wengi sana. Ikikumbukwa kwamba dada huyu alikuwa anafanya kazi yake ya halali, kuendesha taxi ili kukidhi mahitaji yake na mahitaji ya watoto wake wawili. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati nchi yetu Mheshimiwa Spika inapoingia katika himaya ya biashara ya masaa 24, sisi bado hatujaweza kuhakikishia usalama wale ambao wanasaidia pakubwa kuendesha biashara hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukizingatia utaona kwamba watu wanaopeleka taxi siku hizo wanapeleka masaa 24 kwa sababu ya biashara ambazo zinafanyika kinyume na yale masaa ya zamani ya biashara. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, serikali lazima itoe hakikisho kuwa usalama wa watu hawa unazingatiwa ili waweze kuendesha biashara zao bila ya matatizo. Mheshimiwa Spika, taarifa ya pili ni ile ya uchaguzi wa FKF. Mheshimiwa Spika, FKF kwa muda mrefu sasa imekuwa ni kama donda sugu katika nchi yetu. Kumeletwa taarifa kadhaa katika bunge hili, tukafanya uchunguzi katika kamati ya leba, lakini mpaka sasa Mheshimiwa Spika, mambo haya hayajaweza kutatuliwa. Kumetengenezwa jopo la kusimamia uchaguzi huu Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini jopo hili limechaguliwa na mwenyekiti ama rais wa FKF anayeondoka. Na rais huyo Mheshimiwa Spika, yeye pia ni mgombea kwa sababu amechukua yule makamu wake wa miaka 8 iliyopita awe sasa ndio rais na yeye awe ni naibu wa rais wa FKF. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ni kesi ya mbuzi kupeleka kwa fisi, kwa sababu lazima atachukua hatua za kuhakikisha kwamba kamati yake ama jopo lake ndio limechaguliwa katika kuendesha FKF kwa muda mwingine wa miaka 4. Mheshimiwa Spika, katiba sheria ya Sports Act, sheria ya michezo nchini kwetu Mheshimiwa Spika, inasema kwamba wasimamizi wa vitengo mbalimbali vya michezo watahudumu kwa muda wa miaka 8, yani mihula miwili ya miaka 4 kila mmoja. Huyu Mheshimiwa Spika anataka kujiregeshea muhula mwingine wa 3 na wa 4 na wa 5 na wa 6 kama alivyofanya Rais Putin kule Russia Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima swala haya yaangaliwe mapema kwa sababu hatutaki masuala kama haya yarejee katika mahakama yaweze kwenda na kuregesha wakati nchi yetu Mheshimiwa Spika inapoteza katika masuala ya michezo. Mheshimiwa Spika, itakumbukwa kwamba ukigusa tu FKF ni kama kugusa mlima Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa sababu FIFA kule Zurich watakuja mbio na kuweza kutetea FKF hapa nchini. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni muhimu kwamba wakati huu tunapojipanga kwa kura za FKF mambo yote ya sheria yamefuatwa ili tuweze kuondoa wale walowezi ambao wameweza kumkamua huyu ng'ombe wa FKF kwa muda mrefu wakati hatuoni matokeo yote katika mpira katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to comment on the statement by Honorable Senator Jute on fertilizers. Honorable Speaker, as a farmer, Honorable Speaker, I want to know exactly how many tons of fertilizer were imported by National Cereals and Produce Board, which was my employer at those early 90s, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we want fertilizer to be given out to farmers across the year because there are farmers who grow potatoes, and the season for potatoes is throughout the year. We have coffee, we have tea, so that they don't import just during the maize season, Honorable Speaker. And I say about maize, I want to urge and ask the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Speaker, and Cereals Board to open the depots because already we have started harvesting farmers, and we request that they buy the maize at minimum 4,000 because the cost of production is over 3,000, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the final statement is the one on FKF elections. In the past, especially Athletics Kenya and football, Honorable Speaker, those who are running these organizations, most of them, especially the senior chairs and the presidents, are not former sportsmen or women, Honorable Speaker. And the business is just to mismanage, frustrate our athletes, frustrate our sports people, especially football, Honorable Speaker. When the elections come in, we want to ask the footballers and also athletes to elect those who have the interest at heart, not those who want to continue with the corruption in those particular areas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rest my case there and ask the CS Sports, who was my former senator, Honorable Speaker, that he ensures that these particular two organizations are streamlined. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, allow me to make a brief comment on the statement that has been sought by Senator Beth Siengo. Just a few days ago, Honorable Speaker, I accompanied the Member of Parliament for Kamkunji to the office of the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, and we were discussing the spate of murders across the country. I want to persuade my colleagues that this is a national security situation. It is not just something that can be defined along the lines of gender. Honorable Speaker, because in the past few days we have also seen victims of the male sex also being brutalized and killed in the most inhumane manner. I'm sure all of you have heard the story of Willis Ayeko, the HR manager of Wells Fargo. And there appears to be a problem in the country, Honorable Speaker. In the case of the Kamukunji 3, a mother, Waris Dawood, together with her daughter Amina and nephew Nuseiba, were all killed, Honorable Speaker, and their bodies dismembered and scattered across 4 points, 3 in Nairobi and 1 in Machakos. In fact, some of the body parts were being recovered from South Sea after the bodies had already been brought to Nairobi. And Honorable Speaker, when I went to City Mortuary together with Yusuf, the MP for Kamukunji, I can say without doubt that that is the most inhumane act that I have ever actually had to witness because of the extent of the mutilation of the bodies and the sort of torture that they must have underwent. There's a problem in this country. If a criminal can actually pluck you from the street and move around Nairobi with a dead body on board, more than one dead body, in fact, Honorable Speaker, throw a piece of you in Bahati, throw another one in Parklands, throw another one in South Sea, and throw another one in Machakos. There has to be a problem with the way our security system is organized. What happened to all the Nyumba Kumis we used to have? How come? I asked the Inspector General of Police, what happened to the command center that I saw the former president launching of all the CCTV coverage in Nairobi? How is it possible that people are encouraged to do such things? Where is this place in Senator Ososi's county that you can hide somebody for hours and torture them and cut them down piece by piece, Honorable Speaker? And nobody knows or hears anything, and even when the body is found, people are not arrested immediately. I am happy at least the IG of police assured me that in all these cases they have very serious leads, and true to his word, I can see that they have been arrested in some of those cases. I want to continue to encourage the police that it is their responsibility to protect Kenyans and their property, and these things cannot continue to happen in a country such as ours today. Honorable Speaker, I just take this opportunity once again to say pole to all the families that have been affected, but we cannot continue to live in a country like this. Nobody is safe. Remember, Honorable Speaker, even the MCA from Wajir, up to today has not been found, Honorable Speaker. So let us not sit here thinking that we are immune to these things. Anybody can be plucked from the streets. We are hearing, as I said yesterday, that blogger called Maverick Ouko, Aoko. She has not been found up to now, Honorable Speaker. What sort of country is this? This is why it was important, Honorable Speaker, when the matter of the motion that we passed here on the State of the Nation came up, that we get these security agencies to respond to the motion that was passed by this House so that they can assure all our residents and all of us in this country that we are actually safe. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Gloria Oroba.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to add my comment on Senator Beth Siengo's statement, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, allow us as women to talk about femicide. Because, Mr. Speaker, femicide is a thing. It is a taxi driver here who is a female. It has been intimate partner violence who are women. All those Airbnb stories, women. Kwaredam, women. So we are not going to ignore it anymore. It is women. Women are being killed. Yes, we are saying there are 1 or 2 men, exceptions, but femicide, Mr. Speaker, is a thing. And you know, we can't keep ignoring women. This is why we don't have a minister of gender. Because anytime we try to put our heads up and say women tunakaliwa, we are being sat on. Someone stands and says it's not an issue of women. It's an issue of women. Tell me how many women have died in the last 6 months. And then you tell me how many men have been kidnapped and killed in the last 6 months. We are here to represent women, Mr. Speaker. And what we want is that femicide be recognized as a national disaster. Because we already have murder being dealt with. But femicide, where women are being targeted, specifically women, Mr. Speaker, that is the problem. We have called on a special program under the Ministry of Interior. But Mr. Speaker, it's like when we speak about women things, People want to stand and say it's not about women. Sit down. It's about women, Mr. Speaker. Women are being killed. Mr. President, we are tired. Just do something. Give us a gender minister. Give us a special program under Ministry of Interior. And our women need to be protected. That is the story here.
Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, let me make my comment on the statement on internship under the Public Service Commission. I think, Mr. Speaker, this statement is timely because this program of internship is one of the most creative agenda that we have seen from our government, where young people who have graduated from universities are able to take internship opportunities in government, and they are able to learn on job. But the only challenge is that after 2 years, they have nowhere else to go. They are not been able to be absorbed in the same public service. And this is really a waste of time, waste of resources. And I think it's important that we have a policy where these young people will be absorbed in public service on permanent and pensionable terms. Mr. Speaker, let me also comment on the statement by Senator Muma on the Football Kenya Federation. Mr. Speaker, this statement is timely because, as you are aware, we are going to have elections for FKF. But even as we are preparing for election, this election is already rigged because the current office is the one that has appointed the people who are going to conduct this election, the Electoral Commission. And if that is the case, then you expect the results, as Senator Fakia said, to be in favor of the current regime, which has basically failed Kenyans in terms of promotion of football in this country. And Mr. Speaker, as some of the colleagues have said, we need competent people to manage our football. The problem we have in this country is that we have cartels which have now gotten into our sports industry. They are in football, they are in rugby, they are in athletics, they are all over. I think this country has a potential to do well in sports, particularly football. Kenya can become a great footballing nation in this continent. But because we have allowed cartels to thrive in our football, people who have no understanding of football, people who have never played football, are now in charge of our football, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the past, football was doing very well in this country because we only knew of 2 regions which were producing footballers.
Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also contribute briefly on 3 very critical issues that I hold dearly. Mr. Speaker, I first start with Honorable Madam Muma discussing the issue of our football, and Honorable Sosi has clearly put it out. But my interpretation, Mr. Speaker, is that I don't think the problem with our football is because we are having people who never played football to actually engage in it. The problem with our football is simple, it's money. The football management is corrupt. The people running our football are corrupt. Betting has joined in the cartel, and we are punishing our young people, men and women. I hope this House will take its responsibility to make sure that we clean up this football thing we keep talking about, because it's big money and the players are big. Second issue I want to say is about the matter that happened in Mombasa. The security apparatus in this country leave a lot to be desired. We understand the challenges they face. Mr. Speaker, the most wonderful thing that I've always heard, and if you sit in our committees, you'll hear those officers talk. I want to plead with this House and the National Assembly. we don't give the police officers, if you go to the head of DCI and talk to him, he will shock you. Because the budget they are getting per year is something like 8 billion shillings in totality. The investigating department, the equipment, the data collection, and all the forensic labs and equipment that are supposed to service the DCI, all of them are inept. If you look at the 47 counties, we most probably, Mr. Speaker, only have about 2 forensic entities for the whole republic, and yet every county is supposed to have a forensic office, forensic officers who are supposed to make these investigations successful. Finally, somebody talked about the CCTVs, and I think it was my Secretary General, Honorable Sifuna. Honorable Sifuna, I can tell you today, those CCTVs don't work.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to make 2 quick comments. One is on this issue of the reported number of wanton killings across the country that we've witnessed the last few days. And I agree with those who are calling on the IG to actually up his game and bring the country up to date, Mr. Speaker, on what is really happening in this nation. Because it cannot be business as usual when we wake up each day to news of people who have been picked out of taxis, out of their homes, and they're eventually found to have been murdered. Surely, Mr. Speaker, this country has enough infrastructure and technology advancement, Mr. Speaker, to be able to place criminals at the scene of crime and also follow leads to ensure that those who are perpetuating these heinous crimes, Mr. Speaker, are eventually caught up with, and the country rests easy, knowing that in this country, no matter how long you run and hide, eventually they'll catch up with you. So, job to the IG, Mr. Speaker, and I expect that he will do it this very urgently. Finally, Mr. Speaker, is on this issue of the FKF raised by Senator Catherine Muma. You know, Mr. Speaker, I have only one request, and my request actually, Senator Catherine, is to our judiciary. We have come such a long journey to ensure that we eventually have these elections that I am pleading, almost to the point of begging, that our judiciary allows the country to run this course. You know, you understand what is happening in this country. In fact, I've seen football fans, Mr. Speaker, jokingly say that if Vinicius Jr. was a Kenyan, by now he'd have gotten a court order to stop Rodri from picking up his award from some judge either at Kirinyaga or somewhere. Mr. Speaker, we want our judges to know that much as we respect them, they should also respect other institutions. Once they have made certain decisions, let the matter rest and be that. They should not accept every invitation. Therefore, my humble plea is that may this election be conducted and the man or the woman that will be elected to run our football for the next 4 years be granted the opportunity to do so. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama, you got a statement to request. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate this. I want to request a statement on the killing of Mr. Edward Cairo by an officer of the Anti-Stock Theft Unit, ASTU, of the Administration Police Service at Irmolelian sub-location in Narok County. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 53, I rise to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the killing of one Mr. Edward Cairo, a Form 3 student at Larmudiak High School, by Inspector George Rukunga, the officer in charge at the Kiramba Anti-Stock Theft Unit, ASTU, camp at Irmolelian sub-location in Narok County on the 28th of October 2024. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee should report on the circumstances that led to the fatal shooting of Mr. Edward Cairo by Inspector George Rukunga, stating whether the ASTU officer was acting under orders, and if so, provide evidence of the same. Number 2, provide a status update on investigations by the Independent Police Oversight Authority, IPOA, into the incident, outlining disciplinary actions taken against culpable police officers, and finally, state measures put in place to ensure that the family of the late Mr. Cairo get justice for the killing of their son. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Eddy, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, as you have seen the concern of people in this House with regards to a number of killings that have been going on in the country, especially of women, I wish to rise on point of order, understanding order number 37, and basically beg to give a notice of the following motion, Mr. Speaker, that pursuant to standing order number 37, the Senate do now adjourn to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance, namely the rising cases of violent murder in the country, mainly targeting young women and girls, the most recent being the murder of 3 young women in Isili on 22nd October 2024, Dahabo Dawood Said, Amina Abdi Rashid Dahir, and Nusaiba Abdi Mohamed, and a 23-year-old girl, Mrs. Seth Nyakio, in Thika, Kiambu County on 14th October 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honorable senators, I do ascertain the requisite threshold has been met, and therefore the House will adjourn at 5:30 to discuss this motion. Now, before I call the next order, allow me to make the following communication. Now, honorable senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, students from Starehe Boys Center and Kianda School, who are undertaking a 2-week voluntary service scheme in the Senate. Honorable senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the minority leader and the majority leader, both speaking under 1 minute, to extend words of welcome. Minority leader. You can pass it to a former student if you are not prepared to do.
Okay, yes. Not prepared. Welcome.
Proceed.
I'm surprised. Starehe and Kianda, being schools in Nairobi, I would want to welcome them, but I believe we have the distinguished senator from Nairobi, my brother, Senator Sifuna, and I would like to give this opportunity to Sifuna to do the welcoming remarks. Thank you.
The majority leader, then I will give the senator for Nairobi his time to extend words of welcome. You need not donate any time to him.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of my colleagues in this House, I join you in welcoming these students from Starehe and Kianda School to the Senate, who are on, I believe, a study tour. They have found us in the midst of business today, discussing statements. Should they hang around a little bit longer, Mr. Speaker, they'll see us transact other business, either business at the Committee of the Whole or even dispensing off with a motion that is down the order paper. Mr. Speaker, I wish them well in their studies. I celebrate these great institutions that have produced Kenyans of great distinction who continue to serve this country and even beyond its boundaries. So I welcome them, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator for Nairobi.
Thank you, Speaker. I wish to confirm that these 2 top schools in Nairobi are, I think, the first schools to be welcomed to this chamber by 3 senators in a row. And it is in recognition of their outstanding performance. Of course, Kianda and Starehe don't need introduction to anybody in this country. They are top institutions of learning, and we want to welcome all of you to this chamber to see for yourselves what we do here, and we hope every day that we as the leadership in Nairobi will make you proud. The majority leader was saying that it was right for you to deny me the opportunity to welcome them because I went to some school in the bush. But Honorable Speaker, yeah, I am also testament that for as long as you work hard, it doesn't matter your circumstances. you will end up with the majority leader in the same house. I don't know which school you went to. So I want to take this opportunity to welcome those students from Kianda and Starehe. And now that the three of us were given an opportunity to welcome you, you will also have opportunity to meet all the three of us outside there. So that if there are any issues that need to be attended, they say many hands make light work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 8, motion, Senate sittings in Busia County.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to move the following motion, which is Senate sittings in Busia County, that aware that on the 11th of July 2024, pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution, the Senate resolved to hold its plenary and committee sittings in Busia County from the 23rd to the 27th of September 2024. Further aware that on the 18th of September 2024, the Senate resolved to alter the dates of the Senate Mashinani in Busia County from the 23rd to the 27th September 2024 to the 28th of October to 1st of November 2024. Acknowledging the recommendations of the SBC to defer the holdings of its sittings in Busia County, now therefore the Senate resolves to defer its plenary and committee sittings Senate Mashinani in the counties until fourth session in 2025. Mr. Speaker, I am a big fan of Senate Mashinani, but we are all leaders and we understand the current financial situation that the country finds itself in. It is unfortunate that we shall not make it to be in Busia this year, the way we had hoped to go and interact with the people of Busia, Mr. Speaker, and enjoy working from the border towns of Namanga and so many other towns in that part of the country. But given the financial situation that the country finds itself in, you do know, Mr. Speaker, that our travel budget has been significantly reduced in follow-up to resolutions that have been made outside this House, and even our own resolution when we passed the State of the Nation motion, Mr. Speaker, where we said we must take the leaders' parliament in living within our means and ensuring that we reduce on expenditure across. If you have noticed, senators, there has been very little travel, both without of the boundaries of Kenya and even without of the boundaries of Nairobi. We have resorted to transacting a lot of our business within Parliament, Mr. Speaker, due to the financial constraints that we find ourselves in. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, you're equally aware that in the month of December, the Parliament of Kenya shall be hosting the East African Parliamentary Games, meaning that the other 8 East African countries will be trooping actually to the Republic of Kenya. And all that bill has to be footed by Parliament of Kenya. It's quite a costly affair, Mr. Speaker, hosting the rest of the East African countries, and we have been hosted like kings. We have played and lived like royalty across all the capitals of the other 8 East African countries, Mr. Speaker. Those of us that participate in these games over the years, we know how kind the rest of the parliaments of East Africa have been to us and ensure that we have been comfortable during our stay in their countries. It will be completely gross and wrong for us, Mr. Speaker, if we give them anything less, especially knowing that Kenya is a superpower of the region. And that affair, Mr. Speaker, will leave a significant dent on our budget as Parliament. This will not be funded actually from anywhere else other than from within our own resources as a Parliament of Kenya. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, comparing the many demands that this Parliament has, we have requested at SBC that we defer the sitting of Busia to a further date when things get better and we have opportunity. I want to give a personal commitment to the people of Busia. I saw their senator here. I think he has stepped out. That when we resume this program, we shall begin in Busia. So it's not to say that it's completely off, but only that there's a temporary suspension based on the financial situation that the country and parliament find itself in. And that is a simple reason. This is a fairly procedural motion, Mr. Speaker. It's not something we need to debate at long because I've explained the reasons. Without very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move and request the Leader of Minority, Senator Justice Retired Stewart Mazzai, to second. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I second, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honorable senators, I will now proceed to propose the question. That are aware that on the 11th of July 2024, pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution, the Senate resolved to hold its plenary and committee sittings in Busia County from 23rd to the 27th of September 2024. Further aware that on the 18th of September 2024, the Senate resolved to alter the dates for the Senate Mashinani in Busia County from 23rd to 27th September 2024 to the 28th of October to 1st of November 2024. Acknowledging the recommendation of the Senate Business Committee to defer the holding of the sittings in Busia County, now therefore the Senate resolves to defer its plenary and committee sittings Senate Mashinani in the counties until the fourth session in 2025. Now, honorable senators, I believe the majority leader has explained in detail the reason why this motion is actually before plenary. And I don't see why you want to go into debate. However, the floor is open. Very well. Thank you. I will now proceed to put the question. That are aware that on the 11th of July 2024, pursuant to Article 126(1) of the Constitution, the Senate resolved to hold its plenary committee sittings in Busia County from 23rd to the 27th of September 2024. Further, aware that on 18th of September 2024, the Senate resolved to alter the dates for the Senate Mashinani in Busia County from 23rd to the 27th of September 2024 to 28th of October to 1st of November 2024, and acknowledging the recommendation of the Senate Business Committee to defer the holding of the sittings in Busia County. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves to defer its plenary and committee sittings into brackets Senate Mashinani in the counties until the fourth session in 2025. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order. So, honorable senators, for the convenience of the House, pursuant to Standing Order 45-2, I will move to rearrange the sequence of today's order paper. We'll move to order number 10. After we are done with order number 10, we will move to order number 37, and thereafter resume normal flow of today's order paper. Clerk, proceed to call that order.
Order number 10, the County Public Finance Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 39 of 2023. Second reading.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say from the onset that I rise to support this amazing bill by the wonderful senator of Meru. Mr. Speaker, I am in the Finance and Budget Committee, and I've had the opportunity to actually interrogate this bill many times without number. And we had a lot of stakeholder engagements together with Senator the senator of Meru on this particular bill. And Mr. Speaker, we cannot overemphasize the issue of financial autonomy in terms of how counties, county assemblies should be able to run their affairs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the task of oversight and accountability bestowed upon county assemblies is indeed one task that has been wallowing and has been very difficult to meet because of this issue of financial autonomy, Mr. Speaker. It's very hard to oversight anybody who feeds you or anybody who holds the key to your resources, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, today I just wanted to talk about one or two pitfalls that I see with this bill that we must be able to caution the Assembly on, given that when the majority was moving this bill yesterday, Mr. Speaker, he did emphasize a lot on the benefits of this bill, and I think the second of the motion yesterday was Senator Sifuna, who also spent a lot of time, churning through the bill that I find as to be very self-explanatory, Mr. Speaker. But I think that when we were going through the process of public participation and stakeholders engagement as a committee, one of the areas that I think that is an area that as a Senate we must be able to help cushion the county assemblies on is the fact that we have experienced time without number where we see that exchequer releases to counties do extremely delay. And when exchequer releases delay going to counties, Mr. Speaker, we have seen a number of times when the county governments, led by governors, are able to sometimes to go to different banks and borrow on a short-term notice, as well as sometimes getting unsecured loans, so that those unsecured loans, they are able to pay for them when exchequer releases comes to them. Given that we are seeking for this account or financial autonomy for county assemblies, and some of these finances, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the bill, will be finances that will deal with administration, as well as sometimes affecting payrolls of those who are employed within the county assembly, Mr. Speaker. It can be sometimes very hard for the county assembly to be able to figure out how do they then go and raise resources in a case where there is serious delay with the exchequer. And that's the one biggest thing that I think that we as a Senate should be able to perhaps ponder about and see if we can be able to create some remedy so that in the instances where there is no money going to counties due to exchequer delays, then we can be able to intervene and help counties be able to raise money in some ways as they wait for the exchequer release, because otherwise we will find ourselves in a situation whereby counties, the county executive is able to raise money for its staff or staffers when there is any exchequer stress, and sometimes not be willing. The answer here would be willing, because I don't think that we are separating the CRF completely. We're not removing it from the CRF completely. But the county government might not be willing to raise resources to deal with that shock for the county assembly. The second issue, Mr. Speaker, that I think that is technically solved by section 119A of the bill, whereby the bill proposes, and rightfully so, that the controller of budget be given the viewer rights from end to end of the division of money from that account, Mr. Speaker. The challenge, however, is we have also seen in some cases where COB has been faced with the challenge of almost auditing requests before payments are made, Mr. Speaker. This is another area that I think that as we discuss this particular bill, we must be able to look at making sure that the release of money, or rather the authorization of withdrawals from that account, Mr. Speaker, by the COB cannot delay the county assemblies. But otherwise, other than that, I think that the points that the majority talked about yesterday and the points that Senator Sifuna, the Senator of Nairobi, talked about yesterday on the merit of this bill, with regards to giving financial autonomy to county assembly and making them more effective in terms of doing their job of accountability and oversight is indeed a wonderful bill, and I want to take this opportunity to personally pass my sincere gratitude for the wisdom and grit that the Senator of Meru and the Deputy Speaker of this House came up with to come up with this bill. I believe that this bill will enable counties to start to experience serious oversight and accountability by MCAs when their autonomy on financial matters and financial management finally comes to law, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I seek to support and hope that those two pitfalls that I've just tried to capture, even as we'll be going to division, the honorable senators will look at some of ways of being able to introduce remedies to those two pitfalls that might affect this particular autonomy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Katuri Murungi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, also for this opportunity to contribute to this important bill. Mr. Speaker, on the onset, what the bill is proposing to do is to give county assemblies autonomy, as has been stated by my colleagues. And this is by amending the county public finance laws bill so that we can have county assemblies access their money directly from Treasury, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are trying to create what we are calling County Assembly Fund. County Assembly Fund in every county assembly. And then the clerk, who is an administrator, or the administrator of the county assemblies, or the account holders will be able to become the administrators of this fund, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what is happening currently is that when the county assemblies want to requisite money, or when they requisite their money, they go through the CEC finance. Mr. Speaker, we know most of the counties, have problems, right from the governors themselves, the deputy governors, the governors and the county assemblies. So when a county assembly is trying to access money so that they can do their oversight and work out their programs, they must go and kneel down to the CEC finance. The CEC finance, Mr. Speaker, also now you must realize that is also a puppet of the governor. Let me not use that one, but just the governor's person who is administering his finances. So if that county assembly has issues with the governor, you must realize that that money will never be released. They will be starved of resources, and Mr. Speaker, it can be very, very diminishing to the county assemblies. And therefore, all these county assemblies sat down and they feel the only savior is the Senate. And it is the Senate that can be able to amend this law so that they can be able to get their financial autonomy, Mr. Speaker. The County Assembly Forum and other organizations in the assemblies came to me and they requested we really need to support them so that they can be able, Mr. Speaker, to access their money directly. And through this process, Mr. Speaker,